Hello. In this video I'm going to show you the first steps to creating a new garden in a shady space. I'm Zorab and this is Byther Farm. So this area along the side of the polytunnel here is going to spend quite a lot of the year and of each day in fact in the shade. The sun comes up in that direction, then goes round and down that way. And in the winter, that's really very low in the sky, so an awful lot of this is shaded. In the summer, the sun will be much higher and this area will get more sun. So I'm going to create an entire garden, not just a veg garden. I'm going to have some ornamentals in here, a tree. I'm going to try and put in a wildlife pond. I just wanted to show you what you could do with quite a small space. So I need to measure this, but I think that's about 12 to 15 feet going that way, and it's going to be as long as a polytunnel, which is 48 feet long. So it's a long thin space, it's shady, it's at the bottom of the hill, so it's quite damp here for a lot of the time. They aren't necessarily ideal growing conditions, but I'm going to give it a try. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in a fence across here. I'll move some of this out of the way. I don't want to throw most of this away because it's stuff that's usable, so it might as well sit there until I've worked out exactly where I'm going to be using it. But the plastic can be used for creating cloches. There's pieces of wood there which I can use for making raised beds and other things. So unfortunately, although it looks a scruffy old mess, it's a useful scruffy old mess. It's so cold, I can hardly feel my hands. Oh, but I am getting these tied in and secured bit by bit. So I've got another 2 pallets to bring to go one across there and down, or down here. I think I'll need 1 more pallet. Now these are all recycled from one of our neighbours, and they get about 1 a month. So we might have to wait for a little bit longer to get the last one I need to go across this end. At the other end, I'm going to be putting in some very simple posts into the ground and just running netting across there. I don't feel the need to have a pallet fence at that end as well. But I do want something just to mark it and maybe to grow some things along. So the other thing that I've got, which I brought with me from our old house, is this gate. Well, maybe gate's a bit of a glamorous word for it, but these are pieces of wood that I took from long pallets, made this frame and put some netting behind it. Originally it was to stop some of the poultry getting into the vegetable garden. So now I'm going to use it here. Now I don't need a gate in going through to this garden, but I just thought it might be quite nice. I maybe need to have a little bit of a think about that. Do I need a gate or not? I don't know. But the other thing I could do is have the up this way and put some posts into the ground to create an arch. So I've got a tall gate that opens like this to go into the garden. As I said, I don't actually need a gate here. I just thought it would be nice. So where we've got to so far is to have this boundary fence put in, and because the first thing I do in any new garden is to build a compost heap. This is our compost heap. It is just outside of this area, but that's because we've got a vegetable garden on that side, so it will actually serve both gardens for now. It's 3 pallets strapped together with some baling twine, and then this plastic sheeting which we get for free, which is just put, I'd rather have had it in black, but we've got yellow, so that's what we've got. So I've just placed it on the inside and then scored the fold marks, folded it over. And we've used some battening left over from the polytunnel just to batten this in nice and firmly in place. So that's 3 sides done and insulated.
And the full side is going to be this, well, for the moment at least, is going to be this pallet, which just about wedges in place. And at some point in the future, we'll come out and we'll put some lips on this, so we can actually put a sliding frontage onto this pallet based compost
then we can just take them out, you know, pieces at a time. And
Yeah.
because this space is right next to our polytunnel, one of the next jobs we have to do is she says, is to trench in the plastic and the green netting. Now they're not to actually secure the polytunnel into the ground, it's more to deter bunnies from going into the polytunnel, or anything else actually. It's a little bit of a snail and slug barrier too. So this is going to take us quite some time. We started yesterday, we did a small strip along here, maybe about 10 feet, and at that point we kind of went, oh, we've had enough. So we won't be racing along there, finishing that immediately. We'll get on with other bits and pieces, and then we'll come back to this day by day, just doing a little bit more each day. Now we have the compost bin. I had somewhere to put all the cardboard and stuff that was in this pile of useful stuff. So I've tidied that up now, and I've used this pallet for storing the pieces of battening with nails in them. And obviously this one is the compost heap, so all the cardboard has gone into there. All the plastic has been stored behind this side, and I can now see this space nice and clearly. Over the last few months I've been looking at the way the wind moves across the garden, where the sun is, and also how the water flows. And I think you can see we're at the bottom of a slopey bit here, and the garden also slopes from you to me down here. So this is the lowest point in this garden, and this is, without a doubt, the soggiest point. So it makes sense to me that this is where to put a pond. That way the rainwater can flow down into it. I can put some sort of drainage thing so that it goes out in that direction to carry on down the hill so it doesn't overflow. But equally, each time it rains, it will get topped up a little bit too. So it makes sense when you're starting a new garden to do all the building-y stuff first, so the hard landscaping and all your boundaries. Well, we're very lucky because the polytunnel is a boundary there. This stock fence is a boundary on this side. We're just putting a little thin piece of netting at that end, just really to mark out where the end of this garden space is. And now we've got our pallet fence, compost bay fence on this side. I have drawn kind of a rough sketch of how I want this garden layout to be. So that will unfold to you over the next few weeks. Because I'm quite impatient, I'm going to start with a wildlife pond, and I'm going to start making it about here. Quite clayey just here, which is great in terms of a pond holding water. I can't make it too big because this is actually a reasonably small space, but equally I don't want to skimp with the size of the pond, so I'm going to start creating a small space, and then I'm going to get bigger. In our last home, I made a new garden about this size over the course of a winter. Over the winter months, I've been out here working whenever it wasn't too wet or too windy. Week by week, I've been sharing with patrons the progression and the development of the ideas and the actual creation. I'll leave a link to that on the screen.